Today on TV3. It's coming to you live from the news app here at Adesawikanda. We're also live on DSTV channel 279. On Facebook is TV3 Ghana. My name is Josh Quinning. Top of the stories is that Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana urges Agric Minister nominee Eric Opoku to focus and improve the sector, including building the Pualugu Dam to help farmers. And government begins evacuation and distribution of stored food items to all public secondary schools across the country. Also coming up this morning, Fisheries Commission confirms samples of fish with strange skin infections in the Elembele district of the Western region have been taken to the lab for testing. Well, we have details of these stories and many others coming up in the next 20 minutes if you spend your time with me. Remember, you can also get interactive with us. Go to Facebook, we are live, and engage us with your comments and opinions, and we'll surely read them and share them to the rest of the world. And now, an audit of the revenue collection of the Electricity Company of Ghana has reported a discrepancy of 490 million cedis between the period under review, October to December 2023. The report by PricewaterhouseCoopers Ghana Limited and shared by the Public Utility Regulatory Commission disclosed, among other things, that ECG used unprotected Excel modules for financial data, risking data integrity. It also noted that ECG had over 80 bank accounts in which it used to make collections, but used only 14 of them. The auditors recommended that ECG transition from unprotected spreadsheets to cloud-based platforms for transparency and efficiency. The company was asked to consolidate ECG's bank accounts for streamlined revenue collection, as well as enhance cybersecurity and reconcile metering systems to centralized data management and others. Well, let's still stay in the energy sector because a former director of public relations and external affairs at the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, Nana Yajantoa, is urging a forensic audit of the Electricity Company of Ghana before any public sector participation should be undertaken. Energy Minister designate Dr. John Jinapor, during his vetting on Monday, outlined timelines for the government to engage private sector players in the value chain, hoping to address the worsening debts within the sector. According to Nana Yajantoa, the eventual cost of power for the ordinary Ghanaian must be carefully considered.
At the minister's vetting, the designate, he said that there should be further stakeholder engagement, and I agree to that. I also believe that government should listen to POO to know exactly what their thoughts are. It's also part of the engagement. But before we go into privatization or any attempt to hand over, ECG to anybody, any group of people, I would say that we should do a thorough audit of what ECG is. Before we make any changes, we should do a thorough audit to find out where are the leakages, where are the failures. Is it at the collection points? Is it through procurement? Because the minister was saying that we need to buy about 3 million meters, which are faulty. So this is also a loss. If you have bought meters and 3 million of them are faulty, what kind of procurement did you go through process? What kind of due diligence did you do? What kind of technical work did you do before you brought the meters in? So we have to look at it nitty-gritty. You remember, I think PricewaterhouseCoopers did some audit. We have to go back to that report to find out exactly what is in there. It was brought out, but I do not think that in the space of everything we could take our time to read. So we need to also look at that. So before we decide on anything, we need to do a thorough investigation, because when you bring in the private sector player, you need to have a very cost-effective tariff, a cost recovery tariff, a cost-effective tariff, a tariff that will let that private player meet their cost of service.
Nanaya Jantua is former PRO of the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, PURC. Away from energy, the government has started the evacuation and distribution of stored food items from warehouses to affected schools across the country. Nearly 140,000 bags of rice are being transported to all public senior high schools to address food shortages as government begins decentralization of their supplies. My colleague Christian Yale has the rest of the story.
President John Dramani Mahama, during his address at the National Thanksgiving Service, directed the Chief of Staff and the Ghana Education Service to release the stored food items to schools. It was in the wake of dire constraints caused by food shortages in schools.
It was necessary to provide immediate intervention in terms of food to our wards in the various secondary schools across the country. It's because of complaints we received directly and indirectly through CHAS that not sufficient provision had been made by the previous Akufo-Addo-Bawumia-led MPP government in terms of feeding our students currently in school. More definite plans are put in place to provide funding directly to the heads of the institutions for them to procure all that is needed to feed our wards.
A government delegation on Thursday toured some warehouses to facilitate the evacuation of the food items. Some 139,872 bags of rice are ready for supply to affected schools. The food items will be sent to the 54 zonal food distribution centers across the country for onward delivery to schools.
This is the first phase of what we expect will take about a week because the country is vast and we expect to distribute 139,872 bags of rice to the 16 regions for onward distribution to all the secondary schools which need the rice. It is going to be a fulfillment of John Dramani Mahama's promise to decentralize the food distributory arrangements as far as the secondary schools are concerned.
About 300 bags of rice have been loaded in these two military trucks behind me for distribution in the Greater Accra region alone. That is for today. From tomorrow onwards, the other distributions would happen for the rest of the 15 regions with the schools affected with this food shortage. We understand that there is going to be security escort throughout the process to ensure that these food items arrive safely in the various destinations.
This is a directive from the President. It is being led by the Chief of Staff and the Flagstaff House with representation from Parliament, the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Agric, the Ghana Education Service, and the Ghana TV Services. So let no one accost any truck or think that this is food items being smuggled. In fact, there's going to be security escorts.
For the next 1 month, this initial step is expected to ensure food sufficiency in senior high as well as TVET schools.
And our President John Dramani Mahama has made new appointments to 3 more regions and another batch of appointments to 9 key ministries, including Education and Food and Agriculture Ministers designate. Nominations have been made for the Western, Central and Western North regions. And now let's take you through the list. So that's Kwame Agboja, who is heading to the Ministry of Roads and Highways. And he is the current MP for Adaklu. And Haruna Dusu, Ministry of Education, and MP for Krowa, Dr. Agnes Namomo-Latte, is heading to the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection. And Jifa Gumachi is going to head the Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts Ministry. And the current youth organizer of the party, that's George Ado, is heading to the Ministry of Youth Development and Empowerment. And former Minister of Tourism, Elizabeth Ofosu-Ojari, has been director to the Trade, Agribusiness and Industry Ministry. There's been some other additions lumped up to make that very particular ministry. And Ahmed Ibrahim is heading to the Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs Ministry. And Eric Opoku will be replacing Brani Champo as the Food and Agric Ministry. And Emilia Arthur will be going to the Fisheries and Aquaculture Ministry, also going to replace Hawa Kumsin. And Adriamo P. Autre would be going to the central region. And if you follow this keenly, some other ministers have been already nominated. Well, these are the last batch of it for the various regions. Pardon me. Joseph Nelson will be heading to the western region. Wilbert Petiprintum is going to the western north region, and these ministers designate will be going for their respective vetting to bring that into practicality. And so there are 25 appointments that remain so far by President John Dramani Mahama. 35 more appointments are pending, and we'll see how that pans out in the ensuing days. Trust your authoritative media house TV3 to bring you all the updates. And actually 23 in all, 12 out of 3 have been appointed in terms of ministerial appointment. Well, let's know what you make of some of these appointments that have been made so far. And just go to Facebook, TV3 Ghana Real Life. Engage us. Let's know what you make of this. We'll surely read your comments and share them to the rest of the world. And now, Ntin will have lauded the competence of the Minister of Education designate, Haruna Idrisu, hoping that he will resolve the problems facing Ghana's education sector. Leadership of the two unions have asked the sector minister designate to be swift in beginning a review of the free SHS policy, addressing salaries of teachers and implementing their conditions of service. They spoke exclusively with our Labour Affairs correspondent, Daniel Opoku in Accra.
President John Dramani Mahama has nominated the Member of Parliament for Tamale South, Haruna Idrisu, as the Minister Designate for Education. His appointment has generated satisfaction among the rank and file of the leadership of the teacher unions. President of the National Association of Graduate Teachers, Eric Njekabonu, underscored the competence of the Minister Designate. He called on the Education Minister Designate to begin a stakeholder engagement on the free SHS program.
So how to handle CHAS, how to handle parents, how to handle the unions, the teachers, and then of course conditions of service of teachers at all levels, from kindergarten to the universities. As we speak, there are issues of CITAG that is still hanging, resolution not yet found.
The General Secretary of the Teachers and Education Workers Union, TEU, King James Azotiba, appealed to the Minister Designate to address issues facing TEU in the education sector.
For our long expired conditions of service to be signed for the Ghana Education Service, the public universities, the technical universities, the museums and monuments boards, the Ghana Library Authority, and among other issues. We also have a lot of other university council representation issues that people are doing some illegal things.
Both unions entreated the sector minister designate to resolve their grievances on their conditions of service.
Teachers' salaries, the problem with Ghana Education Service, which is one of the biggest services in this country, mechanization, automation, digitalization within the Ghana Education Service, the problems to do with people's salaries not being paid, people's salaries being in abeyance. Look, Haruna is capable, and I will want to give Haruna the support.
It's just a matter of sitting with our various managements and then confirming this. In fact, we had virtually concluded everything. We just needed mandate from the Minister of Finance to conclude. And I believe Honorable Haruna Idrisu and the Honorable Atufose, these are smart young guys, experienced people, and they know what is agency and what will bring peace.
Another police in Ashanti region have commenced investigation to arrest perpetrators involved in the shooting and cause for the death of an ex-chief at Kokobeni in the Echiman-Webeja North District. Nana Akofrobuo Boaten was found dead with multiple gunshots on him some meters away from his house at Kokobeni News site on Wednesday evening, January 15.
The deceased is said to have been attacked by unknown assailants whilst returning home from work. Family and friends suspect contract killing, claiming that Nana Boaten had survived similar attack last year, though the suspects remain unidentified.
Na nyame kwenim no nya no na bi anim se na enana na se ohene na bibia atono no na ebi mu ka say obi na akoko fa wo nti na ebi mu susu yakwan po say ebi na yakon fo bi no bi akoye de akobo ni tu akobo mi say anokoya na enye timi beturu ha ya ebi hu say sana another dana ai tata so onu mom na aba be din say wo yi.
The unfortunate incident has come as a shock to residents, instilling fear and panic among members of the Kokobeng community. It is still not clear what may have triggered the shooting and killing of Nana Boateng, but the Bushan District Police Command have begun investigation to unravel the mystery. The body has since been deposited at a morgue for autopsy.
A very sad one, if you ask me. We're just hoping that the police, complete its investigations and bring these perpetrators to book. And a resident of Kambungli, reeling from the devastation of the Ebi River, are calling for support while they await the results of the investigations into the cause of the strange fish disease. The community's economy, which revolves around the river, has come to a halt. Irama Smith has more.
It is a bittersweet feeling for the residents of Kambli following the intervention now by the necessary authorities to try to investigate exactly what is happening to the Ebi River, such that fish caught from the river is not normal. You will recall that we carried a story where fish from the Ebi River had lesions, which actually later resulted in gaping wounds, the river giving off a stench, and so many other things that is making life very unbearable for the residents. We understand that on Wednesday, officials from the Food and Drugs Authority and the Fisheries Commission, as well as other bodies, went into the community to take samples of the water and fish for investigations. We are also made to understand that those who have some of the fish in their possession, because some were saying that they had stored some in their refrigerators, waiting for whatever results come before they take the next action. They've been asked to bury these fishes and should totally stay away from the river. Shaibu Isaka is a former assemblyman for the area.
The advice they give to the people, especially the fisher folk, that nobody should consume any of the fishes that will be harvested. And any fish that has the sentence on it, they suggested that it should be buried.
Perhaps the bigger blow to their economy is the fact that they should stay away from the river Ebi, because all their livelihood revolves around the river. You know, Kambli is a tomato farming community, and this river is what they use for their farming activities. They've been asked to stay away. They also do fish farming in the river. They've been asked to stay away. There's also an Apeteshi brewing center quite close to the river. All of these have been affected apart from their daily activities. So now it's like they're just there waiting and hoping.
Majority were of the view that once you are directed that they should look to at least they should have come with some consent so that they will use it as a sort of support.
It is their urgent plea that the investigations will be expedited so that work will return to normalcy in the Kambli community. Irama Smith, TV3 News, Kambli.
And now the Director of Fisheries of the Fisheries Commission, Fred Kwesi, says the Commission has taken samples of a mysterious fish skin infection discovered at Kambungini in the Lembele district of the Western region to the laboratory for testing. Early this week, fishing activities had to come to an abrupt end due to the strange discovery.
Speaking to TV3, the Director of Fisheries at the Fisheries Commission, Fred Kwesi, noted that they are awaiting the outcome of the laboratory test results after samples were collected. He added that the final testing will be conducted on Tuesday.
The samples are being worked on at the lab, and one out of the two is ready. And by Tuesday, the interpretation will be done. And we are hoping that the second one will also be ready around the same time. Then we will now make it public. But let me also say that we will wait till Ghana Standard Authority and Water Research Institution Institute is also ready with their report, so that we'll have one report for the public.
Traditional authorities have imposed a temporary ban on all fishing activities on the Fia, Ibe, and Amazule rivers to facilitate a thorough investigation by the relevant stakeholders, ensuring the safety and well-being of the community.
Well, if you just tuned in, you're still watching the morning news, the first bulletin of the day on TV3 right here on New Day. In more news this morning, Ghana's insurance penetration is projected to remain just above 1%, owing to misconceptions and a lack of understanding of insurance benefits. In this report, I find out why some Ghanaians have little or no interest in getting insured.
Or maybe a month, and it will end up taking like 4 months. I don't hear nothing. 5 months. So, but when you are taking my money, it's so easy. Even sometimes, I feel like if I do a comprehensive for the year, and I end up not getting any claim for the rest of the year, I want to crash my car just so that you people will pay me some money, so that I'll have my money's worth. And then
The concerns of Daniel Ohene, a flight data analyst, reflect those of many other Ghanaians. Getting an insurance policy is often seen as unnecessary or even a waste of time. Life may be full of risks and uncertainties, but many would rather not be insured.
You look at your pay slip and the things you have earmarked for spending. Insurance is the last. Insurance is the last. So it's about time we reorient our mind that, look, as human beings, we need to recondition our mind, we need to reposition our mind. But people will tell you, the social dependency syndrome, you have aunties, you have uncles, you have mistresses to sort out. So there's pressure on you. You can't bring out the little for insurance.
Experts believe issues surrounding insurance should become a national conversation.
Whatever premium I collect, I invest it in the Ghanaian economy. The government can also fall on it to push developmental programs. So it's a two-way issue. Insurance, we have to do our part, try and break the ways down, because insurance policies is not easy.
On the issue of insurance companies shying away from insuring traders, industry players say modernizing the existing market and improving their conditions will reduce the high risks associated with these facilities, making them easier to insure. Ghana's insurance outlook may not be looking bad after all. Unlike other jurisdictions like South Africa, where coverage and penetration are measured together, Ghana is just penetration, which is a little above 1%. With coverage, we are inching closer to 50%. But experts say it could be better.
We have arrested security officers, we have arrested accountants, everybody that you can think about. And sometimes you just wonder, there's connivance between those who are supposed to even help us pay the claim. Medical doctors, others. I am not saying that they are all bad, but I'm telling you the realities on the ground. I think that if we're able to look at all those things, if each one plays its role very well, insurance is not as bad as people will think.
According to the 2023 annual report of the National Insurance Commission, more than 8.9 million cedis is paid in claims daily. Regardless of how much you make in terms of salary, you still have the opportunity to get an insurance cover because companies are coming up with tailor-made packages to suit your pocket, and so you have no excuse not to have an insurance. George Quenin, TV3 News, Accra. Well, and that's how we end the morning news. For more news updates, you'd want to log on to our website. It's 3news.com. This beautiful outfit here is designed by Tough Seed. You can locate them at Palm Wine in Labadi. You can also follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Their number to call is 059-374-5220. Thanks for watching. It's always a pleasure coming your way. Good morning.
You know, one bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint, superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior. You know, one bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint, superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior.
At La Villa Boutique,